You know what's coming up soon, Niran? Christmas, isn't it?
It is.
And I think the people watching should treat themselves, whether it's their own or whether it's theirs of someone they love.
Yes, I think they should.
Bit down below, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You've got to treat yourself at Christmas as well, right?
It's
as well as treating
important
everyone else.
to keep the garden clean.
The garden. Yeah.
So what should they do now? What do you think the people should purchase from maybe today's video sponsor, Manscaped?
Well, I think obviously the viewers should go over to manscaped.com and invest in a lawnmower 4.0 to make sure that little drummer down there is kept in spick and span condition.
Oof, blimey. And you know what they can do? I think if you use the code last lap, you might get 20% off.
20 whole percentages off.
I can count to 20. Like it's such a good deal, right?
Yeah.
And it's got a little light on it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
If you check, like it's actually sick.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's waterproof now as well.
Bruv, it makes it like shower. You could if
shave
you
in the
shower in the
shower.
dark.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not that I've tried. Maybe I should try that.
Don't try that at home. Might cause an incident.
Yeah, but you've got the light, so you can see everything.
And plus, you've got the lawnmower 4.0. Sorry, you're not nicking anything. You're not cutting anything down there.
You got the dust bag. You got everything, mate. Honestly, it's the full package. Check it out at the last lap. Use the discount code last lap.
Yeah,
at manscaped.com for remind everyone again. What
20% off. Okay, and it's a nice little bundle as well. It's not just a lawnmower 4.0. You get a little ear one that you can like trim your hair with there, your nose as well.
And it's all together. You can like wrap it up nicely. Get some nice wrapping paper.
Yeah, easy. Slap it in a box.
Yeah.
That's simple, mate.
Get some like Max Verstappen themed wrapping paper maybe if you want. If you're more of a Lewis Hamilton kind of guy, you could do that. So, you know.
Maybe if you're fancying the Valtteri Bottas moustache style, but down there, then this is the one for you as well.
Get one of Valtteri's bucket hats, put it in there, and then tie it up. Boom.
Simple stuff.
2 gifts in one.
2 gifts.
Manscaped 4.0. Do it.
20% off. Go and check them out right now.
Done. All right, you lot, don't forget to give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. Trust me, it really does help us out. We were talking about the sprint because, again, this weekend has been an example of when the sprint is great. It can be like, it was like Friday. If you're watching qualifying, even Q1 on Friday was mad because the changeable weather, brilliant. Sprint yesterday, brilliant. Race today, quality.
I'm honestly I'm surprised FP1 wasn't box office, to be honest with you. The way this weekend when it was crazy. That Q1, with the changeable conditions, going from wet to dry. No, it was sensational.
It was only FP2 that was dead.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's fine. But what do we think? Like looking at, because this is an example of when a sprint can be good, but we've also seen many examples when the sprint doesn't really add anything. If anything, it just, which you could argue it maybe did in this race, it kind of takes away some of the glean from a positive qualifying session because you've got more time in the race to undo it. So, Niran, maybe start with you.
Hello.
What do you think about the sprint now? Where's your opinion? Because we've had quite a few now.
It's such a difficult one because it's obviously public opinion always swings depending on how the race went.
Yeah.
If sprint is dead, get rid of sprint races. We don't need those anymore. And then when it's good, obviously everyone's like, oh yeah, no, these are quality. I get it from both sides because for me, the one thing I've always said about the sprint is like, we can't really turn our noses up at increased racing.
No.
Like if we're being honest, like just the pure factor of there's another race, we can't go, oh yeah, we don't want more action. Like realistically, it then comes down to, is it detracting away from the actual Grand Prix on the Sunday? And for me, like it didn't. I mean, we had a great race. Obviously, you could argue, with Kevin Magnussen on pole and certain things, certain people filtering through the order. That happened anyway with Verstappen dropping back, Leclerc getting spun out, Lewis having to make his way through the order after the contact with Verstappen. Like these things happen in Grand Prix anyway. Yes, it was a great qualifying session. It would have been great to see Magnussen start a race, like an actual Sunday race on pole. But for me, like it didn't detract at all from the overall race.
Pete, you've basically got the race is 1.3 times as long as normal. They drop a red flag and then we go again the next day. So does that detract for you at all?
No, not really. I think, you just have to have the right tracks for these sprint race weekends. I think, because if you have it in Imola, for example, it's dull, it's boring, it's kind of set. Whatever qualifying was will be the sprint and will be the race. So you got to have the right track for me in order for it to make sense. More racing is always great. This weekend, it is such a perfect combination. The Brazilian or the Sao Paulo Grand Prix is a perfect combination to have a sprint race because the track allows you to overtake. It's quick, it's fast, and you look at it. Magnussen on pole on the Friday. Saturday. Then you have George winning the sprint race on the Saturday, and then good value for money on the Sunday. So with a lot of stuff happening in and around that circuit, so it doesn't detract at all for me. No.
Yeah, I think fans who went to the Grand Prix, stands will go shift up sick, basically.
Yeah, the value for money for fans.
Yeah, they've got their money's worth, definitely. I think like you've been saying, basically with sprint races, a massive part of it is just like recency bias, isn't it? Like after we have a dead sprint weekend, we're like, oh, we've got to do another one again soon. Like no one gets excited for it really. And then we have one like this weekend where the sprint races added like a lot more action. The actual race was still really good. They've both two standalone events. They've both been sick. So walking away from a weekend like this, you can't really be like, oh, I don't want to see another sprint weekend again, because you want to see it again. And I think, like I said, it's just getting the right tracks, the right amount per season, and having them as that sort of one event. I think if they didn't I think they shouldn't have it like every single race weekend. It would take away from like, the gimmick, I guess, of it.
The novelty,
the novelty aspect. But yeah, I think they do work when you sparingly throughout the season, but there's always going to be like, even like normal races, there's always going to be a few dead ones.
I mean, it's always going to, like, I don't think there's any point debating whether or not there should be a sprint, because it's always going to happen. The amount of increased eyeballs on a Friday, both like the increased ticket demand for Fridays when there's qualifying, the increased ticket demand for Saturdays when there's an actual race, and also the increased amount of overall, yes, I know a lot of people have to miss out on a Friday because they're working, but overall the number of people watching on a Friday qualifying is much bigger than the number of people watching FP1 and 2.
Absolutely.
Like, no one really watches FP1 and 2 unless you're very invested. You know what I mean?
I would go further and say, do you know what? I'm actually happy for it to be every race, because, like, as you said, look, there's some tracks that are boring, and it is what it is. We got 24 races in a season. There will be like maybe 5 to 10 dud ones, but we're still here. We still rock up on the weekend. We don't say take it away and then let's not have no Formula One. So I genuinely think that let's have a sprint race. I would personally have it every weekend, because the fact that you've got less practice time, meaning, you mentioned it in the live stream, Tommo, about more mistakes sort of being made. You ain't got time to really get used to the track, get it under your feet. So it might create a bit more mayhem. And I'm actually sort of leaning more towards having it all the time, because what's the difference between having like an Imola race or a French Grand Prix race, and then maybe a sprint might spice it up just a little bit, because it is boring.
So for me, the thing I would counter that with, I don't want to watch any more of the French Grand Prix. that Grand Prix as it is just enough. Like,
look, I'm a big advocate of naps. So if we get a little extra afternoon nap on Saturday, I do see a point. It could, I get, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, I've got to watch the F1. Sorry, Mrs. Delay even out with the missus a bit longer. Oh, I might have a little nap now.
And also the French, like the track with all the lines everywhere, it kind of makes you a bit dizzy.
That track.
You could just you could do a different layout for each lap of the French Grand Prix. That's the way to sprint outside the box.
Can't manage it when it's the same layout every lap. Imagine him trying to do a different one.
He's not in the sport next year, Aiden. It's fine.
It's all good.
Okay, so if we're saying
the French Grand Prix ain't there next year either,
true.
So at least I don't know why I problem.
Really? Is that?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's not there.
You're right.
Disastrous.
Okay, so the 6 races that are sprints next year, are they confirmed which races?
No, they haven't said yet.
What 6 events are we saying? Interlagos, obviously. Where else?
Monza.
Silverstone, I think, has to be.
Silverstone, definitely.
I think Silverstone, Silverstone could definitely.
Silverstone, Monza?
Are we saying no to Monza?
I feel like you've got to choose between Monza and Belgium because they're next to each other on the calendar. Logistically,
I don't think Spa.
No, I don't. I think Monza. I don't think Monza might be one of those ones where it's like the sprint race might not be phenomenal, but I think it sort of fits the sort of, if we're doing it at a classical sort of track, Interlagos, Silverstone, Monza seems to fit in that sort of realm, doesn't it?
And it is a track where you can overtake.
Yeah.
It's not like a Monaco, for example, or anything like that.
Where else are we thinking? What's the other?
I want to see China, because that's back. I'd like to see China, especially with those long.
It's a good track. It's a good track.
Yeah,
maybe Canada or the US or Dallas, one of the two. I think
has to be an American one, doesn't it?
Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas.
You know what I mean? Austin.
Oh, same thing, is it?
No real knowledge.
Nearby.
The Canada was a great
Austin would be good, and Canada. I think I could get behind them.
Canada would definitely be like quality.
Canada's lit.
Yeah,
I love Canada. Great track.
Interlagos, Silverstone,
shorter tracks. Austria, maybe.
Austria. I think Austria's always a good track for racing, so I think it would be good for a sprint.
Austria.
Yeah.
One more.
Hungary's usually been throwing up some good races the last few seasons.
Traditionally, it's quite narrow though. I feel like you get random good races there.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is. Yeah.
Baku.
a street sprint. In the fields.
That has to be the street sprint. wouldn't
That's
it?
their marketing sorted, isn't it?
That's
I'm backing that.
Las Vegas just raking even more money as well.
That's the stick's done then.
Yeah, easy.
We've sorted it out. Don't worry, Stefano. If you want, I know you're watching,
hire us,
Stefano.
boys.
No,
We've got
come
this
on.
sorted.
Yeah,
good.
so don't worry, lads. We fixed sprints. Amazing.
Obviously, and also we've got to give a shout to Kevin Magnussen, because as much as the weekend didn't pan out the way they probably would have hoped, he still got a point on the board, finishing P8 in the sprint. And that pole, where do we sit now? The fact that K-Mag did that, the fact that Schumacher actually, he had the slick tyres before K-Mag did, actually. Like 30 seconds back. K-Mag was like pulled up behind him in the pits waiting. Mick, I think Mick just was like, yeah, I just didn't get the performance out there. And then for K-Mag to go and put it on pole, like, first of all, how do we feel about Kevin Magnussen? Because, I mean, for him to just come back into the sport this year, like...
What a man. He's gone through like a proper arc, hasn't he? Like, I think when he left F1, people were like, I never put much thought into him a lot of the time, but like, I didn't dislike him, but I didn't actively go, oh yeah, he's a good driver. Like, he's got a bit about
very
him.
under the radar.
Yeah, he was very under the radar. Had a few like moments here and there where he get brought up in like a collision or a bit of controversy or whatever. But now he's come back. He seems sort of, I listened to his Beyond the Grid. And so that's one of the podcasts he did. And he was just talking about how in his year off, he sort of just accepted that it was over, proper chilled out. And now that he's in it, I think he's probably appreciating each race more as it comes. And now he's just, making the most of it, not got the pressure of having to perform. Because if he does lose his seat again, I guess it doesn't really matter as much to him because he already thought it was over. So I think that maybe lack of pressure on him is making him just perform so much better, maybe.
Pete, do you remember when he was at McLaren? Because that was a while back.
Do you know what, though? It was pretty good. I remember his first race in Melbourne. It was actually all right.
Yeah, me too, mate.
Him
He
and
literally
Jensen,
he peaked immediately.
Yeah.
And then just never reached those heights again.